Star Wars geek girl. They're geek girls that like Star Wars.
Hello.
Hi, this is Zoe.
Sometimes cry.
Hi, Zoe. Are we coming through okay?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I'm Bill. I'm Bob. We're really happy to meet you. Yes, and thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show.
And I just want to let you know, we're also recording our audio here in case you need that, if it sounds better for you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. We'll see how ours turned out and then ask you if we get to.
Okay. Yes, you can use it as a backup if you have to.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. So I guess we'll just start. Hello?
Yes, hello? Yes?
So should we just start then?
Yeah, we're ready whenever you are. Yes, go ahead and jump in.
All right, I'll start. Hello, my name is Zoe Hinton from Star Wars Geek Girl, and I don't have Lizzie this week, but I have two very special guests. So I have Bill Motz and Bob Roth, who are the creators of Freemakers.
Hello. Hello. Hi, everybody.
So yeah, I have, some questions for you mostly about Freemakers. Actually, all about Freemakers. But, all right, so I'll start. So I understand from, other interviews you've done that you've both been fans of Star Wars ever since the first movie came out.
That's right. Yes. Big fan.
So how does loving Star Wars just since you were a child, how does that impact the way that you write the show?
Mm-hmm. I would say it kind of, it's a cliche to say it's a dream come true, but it's a dream come true. It doesn't, it's not a bad thing. It's better than a poke in the eye. I've been writing Star Wars since, 1977 when I got my first Star Wars figures and got bored of having Luke blow up the Death Star over and over and over again and decided I needed to create my own adventures for these characters. So, in a way, I feel like I learned to write playing in my basement with my Kenner Star Wars figures and building little bases for them out of Legos. Which never worked quite right, but still. So this is sort of like a culmination of a lifetime of being a Star Wars fan. It's a thrill and an honor, a little scary at times, but yeah, I have to say we were excited when we first heard about the opportunity to work on a show like this, and we were creating our pitch. But there was some trepidation, too, because we love Star Wars so much, we didn't want to be the ones to mess it up. Lego too. So we were actually quite nervous about it, and we're even wondering if we actually should do it, because it's so special to us that we didn't want to, we were nervous if we could live up to it. We didn't want to ruin Star Wars for ourselves. Thankfully, I think the whole experience has been even better than we could have ever hoped for or wished for. So it's actually enhanced our love for Star Wars. I don't think I could say I'm a bigger Star Wars fan than when I started, because that's a mathematical impossibility. But it's added to this pastiche of Star Wars moments I've had throughout my lifetime. And these last few years have been this really special, surreal experience. Yeah. Bob and I constantly have to sort of poke ourselves and say, can you believe this is happening? Look where we are right now. Look what we're working on. Look at the lines we've written are being read by these actors. The first time you start a script just by typing the word Star Wars, you get a jolt. And then, every now and again, it happens again. And we had Darth Vader in our first script, and by the time we got to being used to writing the words Darth Vader and not having it make us go, oh my Vader. Then we did our episode with Luke and Leia, and it started all over again. It's like, it's Luke, it's Leia. We're writing these two characters that we've loved for 40 years. So, yeah, that's the long, rambling answer to your question.
Well, you said that you were like scared that you would ruin Star Wars. So when Freemakers was first being unveiled, were you like nervous about how fans would react to it?
Absolutely. Yes, of course. That said, we had been working on the show a year by that point, and we were really proud of it, and we really loved it. So, animation just takes a long time, and we knew. Of course, you're always worried what the audience is going to think and have a reaction to it. But I'll say, we've been in this business for a long time, and I don't think we've ever had a project that was closer to what we set out to do, matched our vision than we had with Freemakers. And it was we just we had great confidence in it. More than we usually do, because we're not terribly confident fellows. We'll second guess ourselves, and we're riddled with self-doubt. But this one we kind of like, yep, this is what the show should be. We really love it. Hope the audience loves it as much as we love it. But we're going to be proud of it regardless.
And also in animation, as Bob said, we do work so far ahead that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, but I think by the time the very first episode aired, we were finishing the last episode.
Yeah, we were, and starting the second season.
Yeah. So there's a lot of hope and faith, and we've got wonderful people at Lucasfilm and Disney and Lego that help us along, and it sort of felt like collectively everyone sort of looked at it like, I think this is working. It's pretty good. So I think we had some confidence about it, but
yes, there's also
there's a lot of fear and trepidation.
They had a lot of confidence in that Titanic ship, and we saw that one.
So, also with the show, was there like a specific reason you decided to make it between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi? Because generally that's not an area covered by Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we set out. It was a practical answer. We knew that we wanted the show set in the original trilogy, and we knew that we wanted a show that built into the pitch of the show is they're going to go back to all the battles we've seen in the movies and in the Clone Wars and even Rebels, if we can figure out ways to make that work. That we're going to see all those. We're going to revisit all those places. And it just seemed like, well, you set it then between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, so we have access to all the battles that we see in Empire, including the Hoth battle. We knew that going back to Hoth would make for an awesome episode. So it was really sort of a practical answer. It was just a happy benefit there that, that it's an area that's not nearly as explored as the time between A New Hope and Empire.
Right. And we also wanted the Emperor and the non-yet reborn, as it were, Darth Vader. We wanted the bad guy Vader.
Right. And, with great affection for Return of the Jedi, by the time you get there, it's over. So we had to, we wanted to walk that line between Empire and Jedi.
So, this is another question, but I know when I was little, I would always play the Lego Star Wars games with my dad, and I understand that you two have children, so did you ever, before making the show, did you play those with your kids?
Yes. Not even before the show. I mean, before the show, yes, but also during the show, and the Force Awakens game came out, we made sure that we got it, the Force Awakens Lego game, made sure that we got it and got the downloadable Freemaker content. And
so you could play as Freemakers.
Yeah, and my youngest son devoured that. I'm at that point now where my son can now beat me at video games, and it becomes less fun. So, there was the joy when they were 5 and 3, and I could be like, "Yes, I'll play with you. Look at me, I'm kicking your butt."
That never lasts very long for me. So I would just sit back and like you guys, I'll just watch.
Now they invite me to play just so they can beat me up. Mm-hmm. They're like schoolyard bullies.
So how did playing those games did that impact anything about the show? Like, did it help you learn the Lego style of humor?
Well, I think those games really set the tone for what Lego Star Wars is. That it's this slightly irreverent take on the universe, and it's been that way since that very first Phantom. It was the Phantom Menace did go all the way through. It did go all the way through the original trilogy, right? Or not, I think you're right. Yeah, no, it did. Not the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy. So yeah, I mean those games sort of set the style. Again, they were nonverbal, and our characters talk all over the place. Because doing a nonverbal show for 13 episodes of season, that's a huge challenge.
The games can work out some of the dynamics, physicality-wise, of how it looks when they use a lightsaber and spin around and use the Force.
The amount of rubberiness you can build into a minifigure, or lack of rubberiness in a way. And the Lego movie was also a big influence. Right. The Lego movie showed us, you can tell an extended story with a little minifigure, and you can have it be funny and resonant and full of emotion, and, we knew that's what we wanted this show to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've been, without, I don't want to spoil because it's a spoiler, but there is a species that we use in season 2 for a couple episodes, and they have a unique way of getting around. And the games that actually figured out how to do that animation in a way. So we looked at how the games could figure out how to move that character for our show.
Right.
So, I mean, you kind of said this already, but how do you find the balance between creating a story that's funny and lighthearted while also having, a lot of emotion and meaning?
Well, yeah, by the way, that is always the trick.
Right.
It's the razor's edge, I think, that we have to walk. If you sort of slip toward the too much funny, it doesn't feel right. And if you slip too in the serious side, it doesn't feel right. So it's constantly a balancing act. I think what we do first, though, is approach each story as a Star Wars story. We think of our characters in live-action terms, basically, as if these are, they're not Lego characters or they're not animated characters, they're just characters. And we think of what is the most interesting, surprising story that has some both comedy and depth to it. And then we after we kind of work that out, then we kind of rethink it and remind ourselves, oh yes, now remember, this is a Lego story as well. And then we kind of go back and look for what inspired sort of the Lego-ness of the building and some of the specific Lego comedy.
And so which also kind of in this realm, when you're using, original characters like the Emperor, when you, draw the line between, being funny for the show, but also still being true to the not-so-nice origins of the character?
Yeah, it's, we've got some leeway because it's Lego, but we've also got Carrie Beck and Josh Rhines at Lucasfilm who will tell us, they're not shy about telling us when they got to be pushed too far. We got to back off these guys. And some of them we feel like, hurts to lose, and some of them we go, yeah, we can totally see your point. We did go too far. Bring us in, please. The other thing is, though, we went back and watched Return of the Jedi. We've seen it. I could quote it for you. Fade in to fade out, or Ironed Out, I guess. But just to refresh ourselves on the Emperor, and looking at the Emperor, we reminded ourselves that, the Emperor in that movie is a sarcastic jerk. Ooh, I'm afraid we're quite safe up here from your rebel friends.
I love this coach.
He's not quite what we do push a little more with him in our show, but the Emperor had a jerky sense of humor in that movie,
right?
And that set the tone for Palpatine as we see him in our show.
And one of the sort of guidelines that we follow is that Darth Vader, especially, he has to be kept menacing, especially when in dealing with the people he's in conflict with.
Okay.
So you won't see him be goofy as a pilot or when he's wielding his lightsaber. He's formidable. You will see him be a little more kowtowing than the Emperor, but I think that also, you can see some reflection of that in the films as well.
Right.
So if he's dealing with a rebel, he generally is pretty straightforward, sticky, or at least intimidating.
And then also pertaining to original characters, what made you decide on like a battle droid for the droid companion for the Freemakers?
I don't know that we have a good answer for that, but what we can say is Roger was the first fully formed character. It was my idea when we first heard about the show at Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con. We went to dinner after we heard kind of like the quick little briefing of what they wanted, which wasn't much. It was like a Star Wars show with new characters. And like, wow, that's intimidating. What could that possibly be? Then we went to dinner, and we just sort of over that dinner hashed out, a whole bunch of ideas of, the basic architecture of the show came out of there. And, we had notions of characters. There was going to be a family of kids. There were going to be salvagers who go around the galaxy and use their salvage stuff to help the rebellion. And we knew they needed a droid. Yeah, we knew they needed a droid. Since it's Star Wars, you got to have a droid. And somewhere, we knew that the show was going to, encompass the entire saga, and so that meant it should encompass the Clone Wars and the prequels, and it felt like a natural fit that, like, yes, their droid is the battle droid. Matt Wood had developed them and pushed their humor so far in the Clone Wars series, it felt like, yeah, let's put the spotlight on one of those guys. And, I don't remember who came up with the notion of his name is Roger, but I do remember us both laughing ourselves silly in the restaurant. Yes, and his name is Roger. And it just went from there. When you hit on an idea that feels like it's really working, ideas bounce back and forth so quickly. That's when you know that you're onto something that's good. Or you're delusional, one or the other.
At least Travis in both.
Yes, and on both sides.
Yes, exactly. And it's funny too, Roger ended up, with a white arm, and that was before we knew that C-3PO was going to get a red one. So again, there's some similar ideas floating around in the Star Wars universe at that time.
You mentioned Matthew Wood, who he's been working with sound and voice acting with Star Wars since Phantom Menace. So how does his experience in Star Wars affect the show?
Oh, I mean, it's great to have Matt on the show. Just one, not only does he do a great performance as Roger and bring so much humanity to this poor downtrodden battle droid. But, beyond that, we told the story before this. Oh, tell it again. Matt sits there surrounded by millions and millions of dollars of the world's best recording equipment, right? He's literally got a world-class sound booth, literally behind his chair. He could go in there and record all his... He almost gets it when he gets out of his chair. Yeah. He could record all his lines there, but he wants to record with the best of the cast. And every time we have a session, he flies down here to Burbank from the ranch from San Francisco, and just to make sure that he's there because he knows the performance is better all around when everybody's in the booth together, which we appreciate that so much. And then you add on top of that, he's listening to our sound design and offering tips and handing out the authentic sound effects where we need them, and making sure that everything sounds like legitimate Star Wars. And
he creates the sound of the Star Scavenger and the Eclipse Fighter, all those good.
Our two new ships coming up in season 2, the Arrowhead and the Tracker 1, he created the coolest sound for both of them.
Even funny things like the ambient hum of the wheels, he created.
Matt created that. So, all we can say is we are forever indebted to Matthew Wood, and he's a great guy to work with.
And Star Wars inside and out, as you say, the stuff he's been creating since he was 17 years old, I believe.
Yeah.
And he knows the legacy and the universe so well, and he can sort of speak into even like what George's thoughts were about the battle droid. I mean, he's told us a few times that these guys, they just are made with cheap processors. That's kind of why they sound the way they sound, and that's a funny idea that you can sort of inform like, okay, that sort of maybe explains why they're the way they are. It's like, well, they could have gone with the more expensive chip, but vastly expensive for Kineford.
So, besides Rey and like Jawas, there aren't really scavengers in the Star Wars universe that get too much focus. So what made you decide to write about a family of scavengers? Like, what about that appealed to you?
Well, that was funny too, because that ended up being again when we started working on the show, we weren't aware of what was happening in The Force Awakens. So we didn't know that Rey was a scavenger. So we never would have pitched it. Yeah, I think we had, but and it was probably good that we didn't know about it because we would have censored ourselves. Whereas for Lucasfilm, they actually thought that was a part of what they were doing. It felt like it felt consistent with the rest of the universe that they were building. So for us, we thought that one of the fun things about Lego is that you can never break it, right? You build your kit, and then you can rip the wings off and snap on another pair of wings, or you can rebuild. You're only limited by your imagination. So what we thought was fun about that was you can sort of get the pieces of all these different separate kits, and then be constantly making something new and unique. So salvaging in the Lego universe especially felt like it made sense, right? And that's why we played up the building uglies or Z-wings as one says. It felt like that's something new as a builder of Lego get to do time and time again.
So you said that, like when you were writing, you didn't really know about Rey being a scavenger. Have there been any other times where you were writing something and you found out that something similar was already being done?
All the time, yes. and because certain secrets are always being kept, in the Lucasfilm universe, we would sort of suggest something, and Carrie Beck would get this sort of look on her face, and a little smile, says, "I can't tell you anymore, but you can't do that." I actually remember watching The Force Awakens for the first time. And, we'd asked them, because we're such fans, we're like, what, tell us what we need to know to do our job. We had an episode with Maz, so we had to know about the Maz scenes. But beyond that, we're like, look, don't tell us anything we don't need to know because we want to go into The Force Awakens and just enjoy it and be as fresh as possible. But as I was watching the first time and enjoying the heck out of it, I noticed, that's why we couldn't do that story, and that's why that line got killed, and that's why that sequence we had a plan for, it all fell by the wayside, because J.J. Abrams beat us to the punch. Yeah, it was weird. I mean, I remember even and then they find the blue lightsaber, and he's just like, no. And you're like, but indeed, no. and even still, there was a couple of moments, too, where we have in our show a moment where they almost crash into a snow-covered mountain and they have to pull up real steep, and that's in The Force Awakens too. I was like, well, again, I don't know if we would have done that particular beat had we known that beat was in the film, but I would have. It was clearly in both places. But yeah, there's a lot of times there was accidental overlap.
So which of the characters, like all the characters, did you have the most fun writing?
Well, I'm going to say I love all the Freemakers, and choosing between them is, that's like choosing between your children. You just can't do it. But I will say it was a special thrill to write the slug for Luke Skywalker. The first time I did that, I actually had to stop, stand up from my desk, go, wow, I just got like a chill. I texted Carrie Beck right away. I can't believe I just wrote the words Luke Skywalker in the character line, and it's a thrill, and thank you. And she just was like, get back to work. So, yeah, I mean, I grew up worshiping Luke. I still worship Luke. He's my all-time favorite character from anything. So it was a real thrill to write words for Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, if I can piggyback on that thought just for a second.
You may not.
All right. So the most surreal moment of my life, actually for both of our lives, I think, came when we were flying back from Star Wars Celebration in Europe last year.
Mm-hmm.
And we were working on the show, and I'm listening on the entertainment system in the airplane, listening to the classic trilogy soundtrack, which was surprisingly on there, as we were writing about Luke, while Mark Hamill is right next to me sleeping. And Bob and I kept looking over and I'm like, it's Mark Hamill right there. We're writing Luke Skywalker.
I'm wearing, because I wear a Star Wars t-shirt every day, I'm wearing a t-shirt that has his face plastered all over it, and I'm like, trying to cover it with my hoodie because I'm slightly embarrassed that his face is on my chest while he's literally sitting 2 feet away.
It was so funny. I also wrote an email to Carrie at that moment and said, this proves that I'm in a coma, but do not wake me up because it's great. So that was really fun. But as far as the characters, I tell you, one of the things I enjoy is all the Freemakers especially are really fun for different reasons. Mm-hmm. And so when you kind of get those moments, those lines where it really hits, it's a lot of fun. When you get the right sort of chance for Xander Freemaker to, get his box superstar pilot guy kind of line out there, that's always fun. And Rowan's energy is so fun. Cordy, getting the right spin on how she's sort of pulling down the stand to get, past the material is a blast.
Always a good time.
Roger, of course, in his... But maybe just on the second season where Roger sort of keeps trying to be optimistic and he's just terrible at it, and that's funny too. But I have to say, one of the things that also with some of our guest cast, like Grabala and Durkin, are so much fun because you can write what you think is, the perfect Grabala line, and then Davis never comes in, and he gives you this enhanced improvised performance on that line that just brings it to life in a way that you couldn't possibly forget the match. And I think that's what's always fun is when the actors bring their own take and energy into it, and it just becomes way better than you ever imagined. And that is a blast. Yeah. We laugh so much in those recordings. And, And I remember times that we are literally pounding the desk in the control room because we're laughing so hard at what they're doing. It's so much fun.
So when you're writing Rowan as like a young, energetic kid, does the fact that your parents, does that affect how you would write a younger character?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so Rowan and Xander to some degree are inspired by Bob's own kids.
Yeah. The scenes where Nare is trying to get Rowan to focus on his Jedi training are directly lifted from me trying to get my son to do his homework. 100% where those scenes come from.
And Bob even gets the red facial tattoos and it's really...
So, yes. Making short answer, super yes.
And Xander's love of vehicles comes directly from your oldest son's just mania over cars, all things cars.
He's obsessed with supercars.
And the board stuff also came from
my oldest son, yeah.
So it's very lifted in, from our family's collectively.
So, about family, there's the show focuses a lot on the importance of the family and the Freemakers' relationship to each other. And there's a lot of family stuff in Star Wars. So what makes the Freemakers different from most other Star Wars families?
So what makes them different from the most famous Star Wars family, which is the Skywalkers, is, they are a family that is together. Like, Luke and his dad obviously have some issues. But we wanted to tell a story where the family was there, as complete as it can be, and obviously the parents aren't there. But, we want to tell the story of a tight-knit family in the Star Wars universe, not this family that you see slowly revealed, which is what, the original trilogy does. It starts with a story about a boy, and then by the end of The Empire Strikes Back, you realize it's a story about a boy and his father. And then by the end of Return of the Jedi, you're like, oh no, it's a boy and a father and his sister. It's all three of them. And then we go back in time to, see how father got with mom and how that all happened. We wanted to tell a story that, like, family was right there from the beginning, as fully formed as it was going to be. Because family is, one of the very first thoughts we had at that, Comic-Con dinner way back when, that family is the common thread between Star Wars and between Lego. Like, Lego is this thing that here in the real world, you do as a family. You can build with your children. You can play those Star Wars video games with your kids. Those are all family activities. You can go Lego Land together. And often kids are introduced to the Lego experience by their parents who are building with them. Right. And introduced to Star Wars. Right. Lego. Lego is this, not Lego. Family is this theme that runs through both franchises, and it felt like, that's where we got to start. We got to start with the family. That's the DNA of those things. Mm-hmm. And our goal, too, was we wanted the show to be enjoyed by families. We wanted this to be something that, it's not just for kids, it's for, adults and parents and to watch with the kids and for families to even talk about. Right. Because there's, sometimes there's some conflict. And even in season 2, there's a little bit of conflict between how do you deal with that and how do you deal when you have different goals and that kind of thing. So I hope that we are somewhat reflective of what families actually have to deal with and go through.
So, you said people are introduced, with their families building sets. So do you have any favorite Lego Star Wars sets?
So, the cheat there is to say, building the Star Scavenger with my kids, that was, far and away the greatest Lego building experience I've ever had, where, when we were done, my son picked it up and flew it around the house seeing the Star Wars theme at the top of his lungs. So, there's that. That's cheating, though, to pick stuff from our show. I'll say, long before we had kids, my wife gave me a TIE Fighter. This is very early in the Star Wars line, Lego Star Wars line, and it came with a little Darth Vader where you press his head down and it activates the LED in his lightsaber. So his lightsaber actually lights up. And I love that set. So that's my favorite. And I will say, personally, I love the Arrowhead. But again, that's from our show, so I have to discount that. And also, I just recently, my oldest son just turned 25, and on his birthday, one of the things he wanted to do was build Star Wars Lego together. So he had the ATSD he was building, and I think I was working on maybe, it may have been Arrowhead or whatever just said that. Anyway, I love. I had the Ultimate Collector Series Red 5 X-Wing, and that thing was phenomenal. I just loved building it. It's so detailed, and it's just
it's definitely cool. The Sandcrawler, it was also a blast. It had so much functionality and fun things that you could do, and I actually like to build Legos sort of therapeutically, even like after the end of a long day. I'll do a bag a night. A bag, it takes about an hour to get through one bag, and it's nice sort of using a different part of my brain. It's very relaxing.
So when you were building the show, I guess, you made Garbala the Hutt, and the bounty hunter he hired to help him with the Freemakers is Dengar. Is there a reason you chose Dengar out of all the bounty hunters in the universe?
Yeah. The reason we chose Dengar is Dengar makes us laugh. Like, I love The Empire Strikes Back. It's an awesome movie. But that scene where you see the bounty hunters, there's one cool, fearsome bounty hunter after another. You know, top of that, he's Boba Fett, obviously. His boss, he's snarling at the guy down in the pit in the Star Destroyer, and there's IG-88. Your mind, like, you know, you see all these characters, Zuckuss and 4L1. Like, what are the stories behind all these guys? And then you get to the guy who looks like he was in a Three Stooges movie and just had his tooth pulled. It's like, okay. Wearing his filthy armor and stuff, and you're like, how'd that guy get in there? The rest is fast. Like, well, what? That looks a little pudgy, and like, it looks like he couldn't run if he had to. And that's why we picked Dengar. It's like, you know, he's the discount version of Boba Fett. He's the discount Boba Fett. You know, Garbala has tremendous jealousy for Jabba because he gets all the cool things. Jabba gets Boba Fett. Dengar is what he has all over. And that's why that made sense to us. And yeah, it was also fun that in some of the expanded universe lore with Dengar and the Punishing One, which is it's a really cool ship. And, you know, some of those things, we thought, okay, what's fun for us is to take this guy that the first impression is, wow, what a loser, and actually do something fun. And, you know, I've seen some things online from some fans, you know, like, not a lot of it. I've seen it just a couple times, but I've seen some people going, the Freemaker Adventures rigged Dengar, to which I have to say, no. Take a hard, honest look at what Dengar is. Dengar ruined Dengar long before we ever touched Dengar. And by the way, we still make him pretty cool. I mean, when they're escaping from Cloud City, and he just really jumps and parachutes in and all, you know, he's pretty capable when he wants to be. He just doesn't want to very often.
When, I forget which character mentioned it, but when someone said he had a diaper on his head, I had to, like, pause the show and laugh, because that's always what I thought, but no one ever, like, said it. And then someone said it, and it's like, yes!
That's right. That's what he looks like, right?
Yeah. You know, look, if your goal is fear and trembling when you're, you know, chasing after somebody, perhaps that choice of headgear was not. Yeah.
And so, you know, speaking of other characters,
for customer on that, it's like, look, they ran out of stuff.
but, you know, speaking of other characters appearing in the show, so far we've seen Chopper, Hera, and Quarry. Can you tell me if we can expect any more Rebels characters, or is that a secret?
We cannot tell you. That would be a spoiler. We cannot tell you.
Okay.
I would say, I'll say this. I wouldn't get your hopes up.
Okay.
But, yeah.
I had to try.
We can't tell you what I'm coming.
Yeah.
All right, I had to try. But also, so in past few years, Star Wars has been becoming more inclusive to women. So how do you handle that kind of thing with, you know, like Cordy or Nare?
Well, we put them in the show. Start with that. You know, I'll say Carrie Beck is a tremendous resource in this case, but, you know, she's constantly looking over our shoulders, going, guys, your sexism is showing. You know, what? Oh, we didn't even realize. Let's take that out. You know, we've got great actresses in Vanessa Lenges, who plays Cordy, and Grey Griffin, who plays Nare. They are both such strong actresses who bring such powerful performances.
Grey also does
Motz on our show. So and then it's just a matter of when we're working our stories to make sure that, again, our sexism doesn't show. We've got to be mindful of that in ourselves and make sure that Cordy, doesn't get the short shrift. The thing I think about Cordy that I don't think a lot of people pick up is she's just as capable, if not more capable. She's the most capable of the Freemakers. She is as good a pilot, if not better, than Xander. But she knows Xander loves to pilot, and so she's like, I don't really care. I just want to get where we're going. If it's in the thrill, great. She's as good a builder as Xander. She's not as fancy a builder. She's not as she doesn't have the flourish as he has. And she doesn't enjoy it like he does. But she's as strong a builder as he is by any means. No question. So, and we look for little moments to kind of highlight that, where, those moments, make Chance business savvy, and Chance business savvy, and make those smart things. But for us too, I think just personally, seeing what Princess Leia meant for women, so apparent in Celebration this year, it was tragic circumstances, but the beautiful part about it was seeing, women of all ages having this outpouring of grief and gratitude to and for Carrie Fisher. It was special. So, my wife and your wife, and they love Princess Leia and Rey, and want T-shirts and pins and because I think it's very. It's nice, especially from the time period, that Princess Leia sort of stood out as a no-nonsense, tough, confident in herself leader. And I love the fact that, in the new trilogy, she's a general, and the place of Hera and leadership, women in leadership, I think, Star Wars is global, and it continues to sort of both reflect and sort of promote the idea of equity, and that women are powerful and have an important role to play in positions of power, up and down the power structure. So, yeah, we are actually talking about this last week, that the Empire, that's a bunch of old white dudes. And the Rebellion, you got Leia, you got Mon Mothma, you got Hera. Not that there aren't old white dudes there too. There's Dodonna and there's General Maiden and all that. There was definitely no glass ceiling to be broken in the ranks of the Rebellion. So a woman's place is in the resistance. Yeah.
All right. So I don't have anything to add there, but also I have one more question. So Roger is one of 2 battle droids in Star Wars with a hero role, the other one being Mr. Bones from the Aftermath books. But Roger is unlike Mr. Bones. Huh? Did you say something?
I think you said last part again, you broke up just a little bit.
Oh, okay, sorry. So Roger is one of the 2 battle droids in Star Wars that has a hero role, and the other one is Mr. Bones from the Aftermath series. But unlike Mr. Bones, Roger has not been completely reprogrammed, and he still remembers fighting with the Separatists. So how does Roger being a past bad guy affect the way you write him?
We don't think of Roger as a bad guy at all. I mean, he's been reprogrammed.
There was that one episode where he early on, I think didn't realize it, where Xander has explained to him, no, in the Clone Wars, you were the bad guy. And he's like, what?
Here's the thing about droids in the Star Wars universe. They all roll off assembly lines, but they all have little individual personalities that can't be accounted for by programming.
R2 is different than R5.
Yeah, nobody would program a droid to be like C-3PO, and yet there he is, right? And the same sort of true with Roger. I'm sure there was some reprogramming done at some point on him to get him to stop screaming, die Jedi sound. But the heart of Roger was there from the moment he rolled off the assembly line. that, Roger was Roger, and he's not a bad guy. He didn't really, he had a job to do and a purpose he was made for, but he never really embraced that.
Yeah. Well, he brought the propaganda that the Jedi were the bad guys.
Yeah.
So it really was quite a surprise for him that it didn't really turn out that way.
Right. But we never think of Roger as a former bad guy. We think of him as a guy who was, misguided, mistaken, but he is, from the moment he rolled off the assembly line, he's been doing what he thought was the right thing. Yeah. Yes.
Well, I guess, I don't really have anything, so I guess I'll let you go.
Okay, well, thank you so much. This was really fun.
Yeah.
And we're honored to be on the show.
Yeah, thank you for being on the show. It's an honor being able to have you on.
Oh, awesome. It's fun for us, too.
All right, well...
Okay, well, Lizzie here. Zoe, if you, or Bill and Bob, I can send Zoe the recording.
Yeah. So I will send, Lizzie, I'll send you the recording, and then you can forward it on.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Okay,
All right.
awesome, guys.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great rest of your day.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Okay, so I'll sign off. Thank you for listening. I had a lot of fun with, that was Bill Motz and Bob Roth from Star Wars, okay. Hello? Okay. I would like again to thank Bill. No, not that. I would like again to thank Bill and Bob for being on the show. It was a lot of fun talking to them about Freemakers and Star Wars in general, and Lego, of course. And so thank you to them, and I hope to everyone listening. I hope may the Force be with you. And goodbye.
Star Wars geek girls. They're geek girls that like Star Wars. And sometimes cry.